There are cities in the world where the wildlife doesn't stay outside, where the boundary between the wild and your kitchen, your car, your front door doesn't really exist. Cape Town is one of them. And the animal that erased that boundary didn't do it by accident. It studied the city first. It learned the schedules. It learned the layouts. And then it moved in. Most people, when they think of baboons, think of something distant, something that belongs to a nature documentary, to open savannas and African sunsets. Something almost comical. That image is not just wrong. It is the exact reason this animal has become one of the most underestimated dangers in the natural world. Behaviorally, the baboon is closer to us than almost anything else alive. It forms political alliances. It manipulates. It deceives. It holds grudges across years. Scientists who study baboon cognition have said something that is difficult to dismiss once you've heard it. The baboon brain did not evolve primarily to navigate terrain. It evolved to navigate other baboons. Every cognitive tool this animal possesses was built for one purpose: reading, predicting, and outmaneuvering the individuals around it, including you. There are 5 species of baboon. All of them live in groups called troops, and every troop operates like a society, with ranks, politics, alliances, and consequences for breaking the rules. A fully grown male olive baboon stands around 3 feet tall and weighs up to 90 pounds. That doesn't sound like much, until you understand what those 90 pounds are capable of. Their canine teeth, up to 2 inches long, are among the largest relative to body size of any primate. They can run 30 miles per hour, and unlike most predators, they don't act alone. When a baboon troop decides something is a threat, the response is coordinated, fast, and deliberate. In 2023, in the Linyanti Wildlife Reserve in Botswana, a female leopard made a clean kill, a young baboon, at the rear of a moving troop. She had stalked them perfectly. The kill was textbook. What happened next was documented by a safari guide who watched from a vehicle as the entire troop, approximately 30 animals, turned around. They didn't scatter. They didn't flee. The large males led the charge. For 2.5 hours, they surrounded the leopard, attacked in rotation, and left it motionless on the ground. Witnesses believed it was dead. The baboons didn't leave until they were certain the threat was gone. This is not instinct. This is strategy. What researchers noted in this and similar documented encounters is the division of roles. Large adult males lead the initial charge and absorb direct contact. Younger males harass from the flanks, cutting off retreat. Females and juveniles stay at the perimeter, close enough to monitor, far enough to survive if the attack fails. This role distribution is not random. It reflects rank, age, and prior experience. It is the same structure a troop uses when coordinating a hunt. The leopard, one of Africa's most efficient solitary predators, was overwhelmed not by size or strength. It was overwhelmed by organization. But physical capability is not what makes the baboon unusual. What makes the baboon unusual is what happens after the threat is gone. They remember it. Research conducted by biologists Dorothy Cheney and Robert Seafarth, who followed a troop of Chakma baboons in Botswana for years, found that baboons track not just who wronged them, but who is allied with whom. If baboon A threatens baboon B's allies will remember. Days later, if baboon A needs something, those allies will withhold it, not reflexively, deliberately. They also deceive. In field studies, researchers observed juvenile baboons using false alarm calls, distress vocalizations that signal a predator is nearby, to break up interactions between adults that were inconvenient for them. No predator was present. The call was manufactured. The adults responded to it. The juvenile got what it wanted. If you saw a child do that, you would call it manipulation. In a baboon, it is exactly the same thing. Now take that level of social intelligence, the memory, the deception, the coordination, and place it on the edge of a city. Cape Town, South Africa, is home to roughly 17 baboon troops on the Cape Peninsula. These animals have been here for hundreds of thousands of years. The city was built around them, and over decades, a portion of those troops has learned something that changes the entire nature of the conflict. They have learned human behavior. They know which houses leave windows open. They know which neighborhoods have unsecured trash. They know which cars have food visible on the seat. And they have been documented opening unlocked car doors to retrieve it, not breaking windows. Opening doors, because they watched how it's done. In November 2020, journalist Adam Wells returned home to his Cape Town suburb to find his children screaming. A large male baboon, the alpha of a local troop, identified as Split Lip, had entered the house while the family was inside. Wells described what he found. The baboon on the kitchen counter, opening drawers with one hand, holding a glass bottle in the other. At some point during the search, he found a bread knife. He held it, he waved it, he snarled. He was not panicking. He was not disoriented. He was searching, methodically, the way you search a kitchen you've studied from outside for weeks. That same year, Cape Town wildlife officials confirmed that certain individual baboons had developed what they called a detailed spatial memory of residential areas. They knew which houses had which food sources, and they rotated through them on a schedule. A schedule. Split Lip was not the first. A decade earlier, a male baboon named Fred became the subject of a 3-year monitoring operation by Cape Town police and wildlife authorities. Fred led a troop of 26 animals on daily raids through the Simonstown area, targeting parked cars, opening unlocked doors, and rummaging through back seats while tourists fled. The city of Cape Town issued an official statement, noting that it was Fred's ability to open closed car doors that surprised everyone, not unlocked doors left carelessly ajar. Closed doors. Fred was eventually euthanized in 2011 after injuring 3 people in a single raid and launching a deliberate counter-campaign against the monitors assigned to stop him, targeting them specifically, distinguishing them from other humans, and escalating his aggression each time they intervened. He had identified the threat, he adapted to it, and then he went after it. The attacks on humans follow a similar pattern. In South Africa, documented attacks have left victims, including children, with severe injuries requiring hospitalization. In January 2025, a child in Beitbridge, Zimbabwe, was attacked by a baboon that left severe open wounds on his back and hands. Local officials described the baboons in the area as, in their words, more daring and dangerous than they had ever been. In each case, the pattern is consistent. Lone males, displaced from their troops, moving through human territory. These are animals under pressure. Elevated testosterone, elevated cortisol, navigating a landscape that used to be wilderness and is now parking lots and suburbs. But here is what researchers keep returning to. These males are not lost. They are following routes, historical migration paths that their ancestors used for thousands of years. Before the roads, before the fences, before the houses, they are navigating a changed world using a map that no longer matches the terrain. And when they encounter humans, they don't always see a dominant species. Sometimes they see a rival. Sometimes they see an obstacle. And sometimes, when a troop of 50 baboons turns a corner and finds a group of people blocking the road, the people move, not the baboons. Baboons are also hunters. This is not widely known. Studies conducted in Gilgil, Kenya, documented baboon troops systematically pursuing small antelope, Thompson's gazelles, impala, dik-dik, with adult males taking pursuit roles while others cut off escape routes. 16 gazelle kills were recorded in a single observation period. These are not opportunistic scavengers. These are coordinated hunts, executed by an animal that also memorizes your neighborhood and opens your car door. The behavior that connects all of this, the urban raiding, the coordinated defense against leopards, the organized hunts, is cultural transmission. What one baboon figures out, the troop can adopt. In Cape Town, the behavior of entering homes, opening containers, and navigating human spaces has spread between individuals over time. It wasn't always there. It developed. It spread. A 2004 study published in PLOS Biology documented how behavioral traits in baboon troops, including social norms around aggression and resource access, were transmitted not genetically, but culturally. New males who joined troops with established behavioral patterns adopted those patterns through observation. The behavior was learned, and once learned, it was kept. A 2014 study went further, demonstrating that baboons could develop what researchers described as lineage-specific cultural structures, patterns of behavior that diverged between troops over time, transmitted across generations, and resistant to outside influence. In other words, baboon troops develop their own cultures, and some of those cultures in Cape Town are built around us. Wildlife officials have been managing the conflict for over 2 decades. They've used paintball guns, rangers, electric fencing. The baboons adapt. They identify individual rangers. They learn which deterrents are painful and which aren't. One troop learned that paintball guns required reloading and timed their movements to the interval between shots. They timed it. What science still doesn't fully understand is where this process ends. We know baboons can learn from observation. We know they transmit behaviors across generations. We know their intelligence was built over millions of years, specifically for navigating social complexity. And we know that the environment they are now being forced to navigate is ours. Baboons have lived alongside hominins, our ancestors, for at least 600,000 years. Fossil evidence from the Cape Peninsula shows overlap between early human populations and baboon troops going back further than modern Homo sapiens. For most of that time, the relationship was one of competition. For food, for water, for territory. We won that competition. We built cities and fences and systems designed to keep the wild out. But the baboons adapted to every system we built. They are still here, still in the same places, still following the same routes, still watching. The fence between your kitchen and theirs is the last boundary that remains, and some of them have already figured out how to open the gate. There are cities in the world where the wildlife doesn't stay outside, where an animal that has spent hundreds of thousands of years studying how you move, what you eat, and when you leave, has decided that the boundary no longer applies. Cape Town is one of them. It won't be the last.